Yes, boss, sir, everything's all good. I'm just going through and setting things up properly because we just got started. What does my playlist bring me today? It brings me mutt. It's got too many. It has too many kicks and flips. You should go into the kicks and flips once it gets to the verse with mud. Bitch, you wanna battle with me? Bitch, you wanna bitch, you wanna battle with me? Bitch, you wanna bitch, you wanna battle with me? Battle with me? Bitch, you wanna Anyways, hello, hi. I had the intentions of doing a versus chat yesterday, but it took us a while to get all the shopping that I wanted done. Because the places that I wanted to go to, I had to go to different places to find what I needed. And for almost everything that I needed for what I'm going to be doing, both as a culinary experiment that I'm transforming into a video, I had to spend almost basically all of my money. Meanwhile, I found a form of snack to try and replace candy. If I can make it work and last. It's from the same brand that's been making organic kimchi. But unfortunately, this brand and how they make their kimchi is absolutely disgusting to me. And so I'm going to start making my own. However, it makes a type of consumable snack that's 86 cents a pack. I think that's how much it costs. In the form of nori seaweed snack packs. This one happens to be a red hot chili crunch. Effectively, this is a form of vegan food that is not autistically and or egotistically vegan. I should have just took the scissors and opened it. It is what I have to assume is oven roasted and toasted seaweed. The same type of nori that gets used for making sushi rolls. That is wafer thin and then lightly salted / seasoned with the flavor in question, which in this case is fiery chili seasoning. 15 calories, lightly roasted. I bought a total of 10, and I ate 2 of them in the car on the way back to my place, plus the pack that Star wanted to buy for Zulian, but he didn't like it. She bought sea salt though. He didn't like it. She said she didn't like it either, but she didn't get these ones, which I got are chili and wasabi. It's basically like a vegan potato chip. And of course, they put them in snack packs because they, of course, sell the bigger ones. But those are like specifically designed for seafood rolling, if you're making sushi. These are like the consistency of Sun chips, if you really think about it. Alright, let's see that jersey. Nope, I've already heard this song before. I do not like that one. What else is in the playlist? MS Bop. Ah, yes, Mr. Knickerbopper. I remember when the internet was crazy for this song for exactly 3 months, and then they dropped it because half the people said it was racist and the other half of the people didn't understand what a Knickerbopper is. It's not so much early. This is actually when Yap-In is supposed to properly begin. Okay, no worries, Tusky. It just so happens to be that on Sundays are my days of rest. So I usually like sleeping in. Sometimes I sleep into 1, sometimes I specifically sleep into around 10. Technically, my shows are supposed to start and be an 8-hour shift. From 8 a.m. or from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's supposed to be my regular 9 to 5. Covering news, hanging out in chat, and doing some other main activity. To bounce between content to content. If I'm not doing a focus stream. That's what I'm supposed to do. I've been loosey-goosey with it to try and give myself not so much of a rigid schedule that when I wake up and then I get down, I feel like if I don't hit my timers, then I'm doing poor. Progress, not perfection. And again, I'm notoriously hard on myself. In everything, including my work ethic. I'm my worst enemy. Inside me, there are 2 Carls. Technically 3 Carls. You wish you could rest from today to 3 days straight from moving your brother's furniture. I mean, it was a workout and you got it done. Ain't that what's important? Don't say that's what I think is important. Because, you know, I can be wrong. This tweet ain't too bad. I should play more with the vocals, but the beat's fine. It's the 4th week of May. Yeah. I can't spell jubilation. Yes, I can. Funny thing is, you're not even sore from it. It's just mental exhaustion. Well, why was it mentally exhausting? And as for what I think of Hassan's ban from Twitch, first, I need to go investigate that. Okay. I'm investigating this. I covered the motives of the Israeli embassy staff shooter. Twitch TOS dictates suspension even for critical examination of the manifesto. I believe this is bad policy for news and press freedom. I'll take the suspension, but hope Twitch changes its policy in the future. Hello, Hassan Abi, blah 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 blah. Reason improper handling of terrorist propaganda. Blah 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 blah. Global suspension on your account. Temporary restricted. Blah 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 blah. In the screen cap, it says that there is no suspension because they do not list a time and date. However, looking more into it, you can also see as I'm looking into this, that there are multiple people that have been catching bans. It appears that the Hassan ban is only 24 hours. So, to be expected. Not a real punishment. That's my general answer. My general answer is that that's not a real punishment. People want real punishments. Now let me set this up. There we go. So, to answer your question, what do I think about Hassan's ban based on his inability to not stop supporting terrorists? It's the kind of reaction that the rest of us would get if we were to do anything close to it. Well, I think about the fact that he keeps catching unimportant bans, comparative to the level of nothing. Let me go get another snack from the other room. Because, of course, I can eat through these like candy, but I need to supplement them with other snacks. How I feel about Hassan's bans is that it's play. It's play. These are not serious bans. These are not real bans. These are safety valves. Twitch, in its infinite wisdom and definite lack thereof, do not know how to handle treating Hassan Piker. Because Hassan Piker is a representation of the nepotistic class of content creator that will never see true consequences and actions for their behavior and the incitement that their actions cause in other people or in movements on the internet. So, if I were to do that, it'd be a permanent ban. If we were to do that, it'd be a permanent ban. If any of his contemporaries were to do it, not his simps, but his contemporaries, they would be banned. If his butt buddies were to do it, they would be given a 30-day suspension, as we've seen them already do to Frogan. Frogan, Denims, Yo, Caprice and Poppy, people completely cut out of the structure, just be sitting on the sidelines, cheering it on, like Mike from PA, from his Central Committee account. Hassan himself, 3-day ban, max. That's my most serious and humble truth. He will only get up to a 3-day ban. He's not going to catch longer than a 3-day ban. Because that invites the idea that Hassan Piker can do something wrong. Clearly, Hassan can never do anything wrong. He's always justified. So, they won't actually do a proper punishment. It's probably closer to what Exo Crusher just said. They're going to just ban him so that they can write an article about it, and then bring him back under the auspicions that he's been punished, he's been suffered for the consequences of his actions. But it's obvious, disreputable, and inconsiderate magnitudes of not the proper response. If he can't do the job of a reporter, the correct response from Twitch, should it give enough pressure, would be a permanent ban on all political content on Twitch, so that people have to actually do something that's not just ranting and raving about the news. Because there is technically never going to be a proper way to properly handle terroristic actions. Because if Hassan Piker cannot handle it, despite the fact that he's gotten political training from his uncle and from his news aunt, then he can't do it. Which means nobody should do it. And that's supposed to be the #1 content creator on Twitch. If the #1 political content creator on Twitch can't do it, why the fuck are you asking people to give their opinions on this from Asmongold, or Tectone, or anyone? Period. Just be rid of it. Just be done with it. Then we never have to litigate this question again. We never have to ask. We know that it's unacceptable because it can't be done. It's a brand risk. It is a site-wide brand risk. And the people who choose to talk about it are the worst brand risks that you should never have on your content. It just is what it is, man. It's just what it is. It just doesn't matter. Nobody can handle it. Of course, nobody means nobody currently on that website can handle it. None. Every time they have a chance to handle it properly, they handle it the wrong way possible. And they've been given too many chances. So why don't you just permanently ban them? If they don't want the brand risk, just permanently ban them off the website. Have them go somewhere else. Then you can do a shit there. Then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be concerned. You don't have to care. They won't do that. Because she is both a major draw and a major pull for their job and influence on the internet. It is silly for any of us to hope for anything different. In my opinion. But that just is what it is, man. This is what it is. He's getting more perspective. We think about the glass half full. There's a caveat. And the caveat is that Hassan Piker being actively named as a reason for the terrorist attack of the Israeli assassinations is that which will face catastrophic loss of advertising support through the form of a whisper network. And that normies have clearly broken through containment. That's the only one caveat of the glass half full metaphor here. But that doesn't mean shit, because they don't know how to actively utilize that strategy to do something about it. This is where Section 230 comes in. And you need to have a lobbying force that utilizes Section 230, the safe harbor protections, to tell Twitch, either you start handling this problem or our lobby will. And they lay it at the feet of technically literate legislators who know how to champion this kind of work. If it were me, I would say fuck all that shit. Have Tulsi Gabbard go before the House and the Representatives and actively tell the House and the Senate, here's what's about to fucking go down. Here's what's happening. Here's what we're not going to do anymore. And it's because of people like this individual here, Hassan Piker. Make people have to watch C-SPAN to start covering this shit. That's the one caveat we have. And it's not happening because we don't know how to activate on this level. Twitter's still broken in this way. Yeah, that's what I think of that particular course of action. It hasn't really changed since before, but that's more or less the way it happens. Feel like the only way you see justice is if it is delivered by Sam Hyde. That's not a joking statement. That's an actual outcome that would create the greatest amount and measure of change possible. If you truly wanted to see a reaction and follow through, that creates the outcome of making Hassan Piker mad as hell online. A guaranteed definite way to do that is to have the liaison of behavior being delivered by the contemporary enemy that he hates, which is people that are funnier, more exciting, and more deliberating than him, which would definitely be Sam Hyde. How big of a power flex would it be if, suppose, known enemy and known Nazi Sam Hyde is the one that has to say, Hassan Piker is unable to handle proper journalistic rhetoric, and as a show of demonstration that he cannot do this job, $1 Million Extreme is going to launch a side project that demonstrates our ability to focus on news and topics. Because we can demonstrate and show that even shit posters like us at $1 Million Extreme can be able to do a job better than Hassan Piker. The entire left wing would lose their goddamn mind. They would lose their fucking mind. As it should. Excuse me. They would lose their mind. Now, it doesn't just have to be Sam Hyde. It could be anybody that can demonstrate a skill of handling news better than Hassan Piker. Who's other water? But whoever does it, whatever form it comes in the support of, it cannot be Zach. It can't be Adam Gold. It can't be any significantly large content creator figure that's currently going around right now. In order to truly solve the problem, it has to be somebody medium and small. It could be a flesh tuber. It could be a VTuber. But it has to be somebody who is small to medium, not large. Because the difference maker is that it has to be a small to medium figure. Because the point of emphasis is look at the #1 content creator on Twitch. Now look at this absolute nobody and how they're able to surf this stream of information and deliver a take that doesn't make them sound like they support genocide of both or either side. If you choose big figure, you're just doing the equivalent of saying my content creator is better than your content creator. And that's the problem. Because of who Sam Hyde is, Sam Hyde can do the same thing that Dylan Burns did to deal with and address the problem of news reporting on the ground from inside of Kiev. Dylan Burns, the guy who founded Hippy Dippy Championship, the literal place that spawned the memes that are the Twitch debate bro, and its organism and its sphere of influence, he went and did war reporting on the ground. That's how we got associated with and were introduced to, from Destiny, the content creator known as Ukrainian Anna. Anastasia, from inside of Kiev, from Ukraine, was a content creator who basically got her start as an orbiter around Destiny and around that sphere of influence from being somebody who talked with Dylan Burns and then Destiny from the war reporting that Dylan Burns did on the ground. If you choose a big figure content creator, they have to be willing to go to the state and actually do the work. Otherwise, keep it to the inside boys. Don't send a big figure. Just look at the coverage when it's done by a smaller, medium to literally who size figure. Said, of course, not in jest, but in consideration. Because the reality problem is that the reason why we see this on Twitch is because the Kingmaker system has no discoverability. A person who would want to find my broadcast or something like it right now on Twitch, they have to go looking to find my content. Or be told by somebody that my content exists and what it exists to do. Period. In order to change the perspective and to change the conversation, you have to inject somebody to fill the void that will be created by removing Hassan Piker from that matrix. That's by nature. That's by nature of the concept. YouTube, same problem, but it at least has discoverability, but it's got a fucked algorithm. The only direct way to ameliorate the issue directly is ameliorating the problem directly by bringing in a content creator that is able to do the work that Hassan Piker is not willing to do, and show how easy it was to do that work. I guess right now the only person who's doing that is Lonerbox, and good for him. Meanwhile, yes, Axel Crusher, I did see what Trump did to the South African delegates. It was funny as hell. I covered it live on air. Literally this week. It was silly, but that's relatively the level of the same energy that we have to do when it comes to the subject matter of what revolves on around Twitch question. You effectively have to have somebody who's willing to do a cotton 4K moment, and then do a snapshot to a smaller creator who can be sublimated and elevated to show, yeah, there are multiple type of content creators on Twitch, but we only ever look at the big figures, and the big figures do not make the whole website. It doesn't make the culture of the most website. Like, it does not make the majority of the most website or the culture of the content on the websites. You missed it during one of the gaming streams? Should have been. It should have been Monday or Wednesday. But more or less what Trump did is that Trump brought in a television and played active news feed of the ANC government and its affiliate groups calling for the death of foreigners and white natives in the country, while talking to them about the issue that he was there to discuss with them, which was the laws that they were passing that was basically designed to be racist and prejudiced towards whites and white Danish descendants in the country. And that's just more of the same, you know? Any person who's not become politically activated on the sense of exactly how much of a death cult the South African government has become, I don't know what to tell them. Like, we've been new all the way back with Lauren Southern's reporting on the matter. But, you know, is what it is. If only we get more based moments like that from Trump. Because it's what I would like an effective leader to do. I'd like an effective leader to point out that a problem's happening, and then when his contemporaries and its opponents tell him that he's not telling them something that is actually true, he boing flip and expose them in a way that can't be ignored. But, you know, not everybody has an eye for that. When Ralph Vosa said, "I'm not racist, here's my friend," and it backfired immediately. I mean, that's just generally funny. Brother Carl, why am I jamming? Because I love Nola Bounce. And I play music. To add to the ambiance. Especially since we're filling for time in between people who have the ability to ask questions. I'm actually surprised that we haven't attracted after that here yet. One of the downsides of consistency. It's one of the downsides of consistency. When you set up a schedule and you set up a routine, when things deviate outside that routine, you notice them. I notice her absence. It is the concept of a working class or poor class white family, an eldest concept in the world. She is possibly EP. That is possibly the case, Alex. Now, Exa Crusher, in what way do you mean the concept of a working class or poor class white family being an eldest concept? That you've been seeing them, or that you've been seeing people not acknowledging that they exist? I have to wait for him to specify, because I can't continue answering the question until he specifies. Like white farmers being taken land and no one batting an eye, South African farmers getting the Rwandan treatment if like it's nowhere somewhere like somewhere else. Okay. So you didn't just mean in America, you meant specifically in South Africa. The short answer is they don't care. The South African government is the creation of Wakanda. They literally want to be and want to have Wakanda. They want to be conquering people that take from others and victimize others in a way that they believe they should be allowed to, because they are the dominant race and the dominant culture of that place in the society. They don't care if they're victimizing whites. They love when the whites complain. That's how they see it. They want to antagonize. They want to otherwise. And they want to make small the men and women who otherwise would be contributing members of the society if they only let them. They don't care if they starve. They don't care if they die from famine or sickness or illness. because they killed the only white working class doctor in the village or in the city. They don't care if they don't have contemporary luxuries because they believe that they can live also as identitarianists wish they could, as they already try to demand people should try to here in America. Which is by saying that they should divest from white men, that they should take from whitey, that they should behave in a way comparable to any argument that a person could have for the purposes of those people working to socialize and civilize themselves, and they should be able to terrorize them. They should be allowed to terrorize them. They should be allowed to victimize them. They should be allowed to harass them. They should be allowed to punish them. And if they are prevented from doing so, they then also deserve to have the right to treat you like shit. That is what they think. That is what they think. That is what they believe. That is the world that they live in. That is the reality that they wish. That is the outcome of all their actions. They're pushing permanently in that direction for that goal. And if you don't like it, well, you're going to get hate crime too. That is the problem with the South Africans that exist in that country right now. They will not change their mind. They don't want to. It's very rare in society that we ever see true evil. That is the evil that they want to do to them. That's how they want the government to treat them. I find it crazy. But that's where they're at right now. Same thing with Amish farmers. No one cares about the land being stolen. No one cares about tonight. And think about how we're teaching the children. Remember back when in high school history, we were taught that the whole pie was racism. They don't say it that way, actually. It's pure elephant making. This is just the natural state of humans. I want what I want. If I don't get what I want, I'm going to victimize you because I don't care if you don't give me what I want. Give me what I want. If you don't give me what I want, I'll take it from you. As Homath says, it is basically the let me kill you or I'll kill you philosophy. Something that will lead to a negative outcome for you. They do not care how it affects you. They want it. Give it to them. If you don't give it to them, that is helium monstrosity and hatred, and proof for exactly why they should deserve to kill you. In comes Buster with a Carl. It's the insert white slur here. That held the whole Africa to fully realize Wakanda. I mean, Wakanda's fictional. And these people don't know the difference. And they don't care if there was a difference. Marvel told them, I deserve to kill Whitey because Whitey took from me. And that's all they care about. So like, from there, everything else just becomes, how can I better punish Whitey? That's the reality. It could have started from a place like Thanos. It could start it from a place of active utilitarian thinking about how one best tries to help themselves and help others. But what it transformed into, I should actually save this for a different build. What it transformed into is that it transformed him into hatred of the other. And from the hatred of the other, they justified every failure of the state and of the people. And that's just the truth. If there is ever a goal to get back to sanity, it has surely been abandoned by their peoples for whatever they consider the operant goal, which at this point I think might just be torturing them for as long as they can possibly get away with it. Sad to see, but you know, you can't do much about it. I feel sick to my stomach looking at it. At some point, you know, you just gotta look away. There's nothing I can do, so I just gotta look away. My nose is itchy. Excuse me. It was African history, where, you know, the Rwandan genocide, between Hutus and Tutsis, the Rhodesian conflict. True. I mean, technically, Africa has a couple of choices. They can choose to shake off the chains of tyranny, stop killing their own civilians for the sake of forever war punishment, and truly attempt to help themselves, or keep punishing people for daring to care about the country. More than likely, they're going to choose the one that lets them do more bullying, so it's likely not going to change. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to say that you tried, you know? I honestly just feel bad for most of the kids that have to live through it. That's a lot of armor. It's a lot of life. This'll work. Just something I've been seeing happen a lot, removing accolades to people who have in the past and actively keeping a society of willing to ruin their lives just because of oppression. Never mind, you're getting a right to work. Whee! Man, if only they knew you had to build something instead of taking and taking and taking. In the eyes of those that are currently on the ground committing action to the tyranny, they do not have any interest in caring about solutions or fixings or solving. Like I said before, pure elephant. It's not about saving people, it's not about helping people, it's about punishing people as much as you possibly can. These are waiting for fraction orbs. So really, it just comes down to whether or not they ever realize if it's never acceptable to bully and antagonize and ostracize people in the country, and that they're all stuck in the same help box, because if everything really goes tits up, they're all going to get fucked by their government. That's really what it comes down to. I don't think there's a lot of people in there that are willing to realize that, so here's hoping. Let's hope the experiment doesn't fail. Ooh.
Got time, but I don't mind. Just wanna rock you, girl, 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 rock you, girl.
Thank God for Beltec. Resistance, please. I'll take armor. I'll take life regen. I guess I'll take charms. And it is this one that's waiting for a fourth affix. It's gonna be a weird slam. Ouch. Rapid pushback of the idea that Trump actually giving asylum to the people who actually need it broke their minds. That's just more of the same spiraling from journalists. Remember, chat, you can never hate journalists enough. You certainly do not hate journalists enough. How did Queen Herbie get inside of my playlist? How did Queen Herb's chocolate era get inside my fucking funk playlist? That's weird. Broke their minds because damn, the president actually wants to do something good. There's an element of that. It really just comes down to Trump bad, don't want Trump to do good things. Trump is the monster. Therefore. Really, at the end of the day. It's simply just blind hatred, most of the time, at the end of the day. Not really much anything else you can say about it. I think I need to continue towards Thorns. So I need to get here. I think the most immediate path is just to go to Battle Fever for now, and then make my way across. And then I'd probably have to go through Prison Guard. And then after I go through Prison Guard, I think about how I feel about Vengeful Fury. Because that's a lot of rage. I don't think I need it. So then I probably just enter the bottom side of Retaliation. And then Revenge. Want him to do good things, but him putting tariffs on shit I sell for a living is gonna bring factories back to Pittsburgh and Philly, not in this year. I can agree. There are lots of things that Trump can be able to do, and I do not like his chicken and carrot and sticks methodology of attempting to get businesses to basically play ball. I don't like it for several reasons, many of the obvious ones being that it's a bad way to try to get your allies to ally with you. Because the way that the allies feel about it is they think that you're punishing them, and then they don't want to get involved. More or less. Because they're gonna see it as punishment. More or less. More often than not, more than less. If he wants to go about it through a different method, he should, but he should not be using the method he's currently using. He's causing too many problems. That's just my opinion, of course. But I think that's also the most wise position that you could have come to on the matter. Because it's just not helping people right now. Yeah, I agree, Buster. It's bully tactics to fall in line. That's not helpful. So it leads to us losing help from our allies to be able to address the problems. So then we don't have the ability to address things together, and we are effectively causing ourselves bigger issues down the line. That then, when you could have just easily worked with your allies, you then have the same problem that any kind of group would have. People don't work with each other, they then prioritize themselves, and then you're like, bro, what the fuck? And they're like, no, bro, what the fuck from you? I expect better of his wisdom. But of course, I can't just blame Trump entirely alone. I have to blame Trump and his cabinet. So, if it's not a business decision that's coming from Trump, I blame the people who are responsible for doing it in the first place. Because whoever's telling him behind the scenes this is good strategy, tell that motherfucker shut up! Because it's not. It's not effective strategy. I hope you're gonna be okay getting to work, Tusky. Has your ride come to get you yet? Herbie, how are you getting in my playlist? How does this keep happening? That's white woman keeps sneaking into my funk, Nola Bounce, and fucking Jersey Club playlist. How do you keep doing that? Stop it! God damn it. Granted, those allies have been running our nose in the dirt because of things that we do, but even then it was like he and his captain's shotgun blasted with no care for the collateral damage. I agree. There is a world, right, where both of these opinions are obviously mutually non-exclusive, right? Trump can be able to say, I need people to fall in line and get on board with what I am trying to propose here. There is a way for us to deal with these problems, and it'll start with simple concepts that bring people to the table. And then move to the carrot and stick mentality. And if the carrot and stick mentality is a mentality that can strategically work to create an outcome and a goal that we would want to achieve as a part of what we're trying to do, we do our best to make that work out, not just because it's good, but it leads to good outcomes for everybody involved. What Trump is currently doing is ill-conceived because he does not have a way to create that understanding. And because he's not creating it, and seemingly is also unwilling to cause for it, it makes me think that this was some kind of opinion that was brought about from a group of people that are not truly deeply concerned what they're causing to the rest of us. Not really. Where's the vendor? Probably somewhere over here. What the hell am I listening to? Ah, one of those mixes. I got one of those Nola bounces in the playlist. That wasn't it. Hi, whore. Why the fuck am I starting so early? I'm starting at the time I'm supposed to be properly starting at. I just have been lazy and been starting later in the day than what I'm supposed to be. That can't be in this playlist. Stale in the cookie, but fresh and clean. Thank you. Hello, Exord. Early word indeed does get the worm. Yeah, you're leaving soon? You don't have to be there until noon? I leave now when walking because despite it being a 3.9 mile trip, I see a duck or Canadian goose and it turns into a 5-mile trip. True. You're starting at 5 a.m. my time. You're right, because you live not in my state. You right. From your angle, I am starting at a time where you're not awake. Why not, though? Because that was Doja Cat music. I have to be careful about what music's playing. Otherwise, I have to do more work behind the scenes to make sure that the VOD can stay up. I'm making easier on Carl later. Alternatively, I could also just change the playlist. Because it's now getting to the point where the playlist is pulling from other songs on YouTube, and certain songs on YouTube are just getting filled into the list despite them not being the 3 specific ones that I'm looking for.
Howdy, Carl.
Hello, Marcus. How can I help you?
I'm just simply existing, waking up actually, but you know.
No Folgers?
I don't got coffee right now. I got tea.
Then what's the best part of waking up, Marcus?
Watching very poorly aged 90s commercials.
Okay.
Currently. Some of them shits are some. There's a lot of commercials with planes and towers in the 90s. Like, holy shit.
The aeronautics industry was just burgeoning off. They had just caught their stride. Nobody could have predicted that. It was probably one of our most memorable landmarks inside of New York.
Yeah. Fucking crazy.
It was a different time.
Different time, different place. You wouldn't understand.
I understand that they were picking women with the flattest of asses to be fucking airport assistants and to be the on-call, what the fuck do they call them? Is it airline assistant?
Attendant.
Okay.
Are you referring? I'm assuming you're referring to the attendants that like go down the plane and right?
Yes.
Or,
the airline assistants that are helping you and entertaining you while you are embarking or disembarking and are there on the plane the entire time through.
Alright. But yeah, no. A lot of commercials like that. But no, my morning starting off right with well, starting off right with watching your stream and you know, pretty certain that's wow, that was a really bad start to this game. But the pretty certain that Sage is going to be coming back home, so yippee for me.
Where did he go? Where did he go?
He went to Atlanta to MumbleCon.
How was it?
He said, to me at least, that it was pretty good. Oh shit. But I'm sorry, how many reinforcements do these guys have?
All of them.
No, they have only 3 remaining, and this is wow. They have been lollygagging. They've been fucking up real hard.
Focus, Carl. I almost said focus, Carl. Focus, Marcus.
Sorry, I'm trying to fight for Super Earth, and this guy's dying like fucking 10 times a second. But no, went to Momocon. Momocon was apparently nice and was pretty good for him. He brought his sibling with him. I didn't go because 1, I had work, and B, I just didn't have the funds to, but I could fund him to go. So it was a good time according to him. I don't know what he's going to do with, majority of like, I don't know what he's going to come back with, because I did ask him, hey, get something for me. And like take a lot of pictures. I have not gotten any pictures, by the way. No pictures so far. He has not sent any.
And how does that make you feel? What?
It makes me feel like, damn, okay, well, I haven't gotten any pictures. Oh well.
Okay.
Shot needs to be higher. Aside from that, heard that some of my favorite streamers were going to be there, -1. What the fuck just hit me? Shit.
Don't ask where I found it. How is there light within this ancient ruin?
Damn, that playlist sucks. Where's my good playlist? There we go.
I'm fighting these enemies with just a fucking senator. It's helping though.
Feel my wrath! Ancient fire!
Better.
Meet creature!
So they went to Momocon.
When Momocon, I have heard next to nothing, unfortunately, because again, I've seen them cosplay Sonic. They also were cosplaying Sukuna.
Okay. So
Holy shit.
Sage went there with 2 cosplays.
Yes. 2 cosplays. Hold on. Went with 2 cosplays. Went with their sibling. I wasn't able to go. Things like that.
Okay.
What incredible and terrifying wonders.
anything particularly interesting at the convention actually happened that the rest of the wider internet didn't hear about. Because even though it's happening in my backyard, I don't fucking care about the conventions anymore.
I mean, it's reasonable. From what I have heard, nothing, effectively.
Same as ever it is.
Nothing really, but yeah.
I feel like it's DreamCon where things happen, and it's like, I don't know. What happens when you put a bunch of niggas in a room with a bunch of other niggas that want to have an excuse to be black and horny?
Yeah, pretty much you'll get that.
Outside of most of these conventions, I feel like every convention, it's just like, why even play cover-up slut? And all of you people are just showing skin for no reason.
Well, see, I play cover-ups. I'm glad that I taught you that fucking game.
We got a different word for it inside of the Campus Nerds, but yours
What
is
was the
catchier. Bitch, put some clothes on.
See, that gets the job done too.
There's either put some clothes on or wear your clothes at.
Wear your clothes at. No, wear your clothes at is pretty good too. Won't lie. But but no, like, I mean, at conventions you can, for all intents and purposes, you can, wear stuff. You can wear like some pretty modest stuff and still look hot at the same time. It's kind of, in my opinion, like a slightly, it's a slope, obviously. But the thing is that you gotta understand, like, hey, maybe, just maybe, you should not wear this around children. You know, like. I feel like fucking Captain America right now, goddamn. Got the fucking shield and everything. Assemble! I divulged an interesting thing about a convention near me called Minneapolis to Aqua and a bunch of other people.
Okay.
And it was predominantly about the owner of the convention.
The guy that,
and how the owner.
Yeah.
And how the owner. Oh yeah, Ryan Koff. Yeah. Which I found the page that he the page that he said, like, oh, I've never sexually assaulted anyone, and it looks weird as shit. And he says, like, it's been cleared by the FBI. It's like,
I have a literally perfect lyric cast. Wow. That's statistically hard to get. Now, see, Tusky, or nope, that's not him. No, it is Tusky. My opinion, Tusky, is that the convention space is the place where you decide whether or not the thing is or is not acceptable or allowed for the environment, for having a convention space or having a piece of work done in a convention space around other people, right? So, X-rated and sex-rated cosplays should be at a convention that is explicitly about sex. So if you're gonna have a sex cosplay, go do that shit at the AVN Fest. Go take pictures in it at the AVN Fest. No dick shame, no cock shame, no embarrassment.
Or you
Behold
could
it.
go to, like, SumeCon.
Like SumeCon or other such conventions. Don't take an obvious sexual cosplay to a place where kids are.
Like, for example, like Anime Milwaukee, it is straight up like, yeah, if you come looking weird, we're gonna tell you to go home and change.
I'd be more than
so,
tell
like-
them to go home and change. I'd tell them to get the fuck out. I would tell them to get the fuck out. I would not tell them to come back.
I mean, you could have the whole Wheat Pete scenario and be like, you know, get the fuck out and never come back ever again for every single convention. That man had to stop being a whole dumbass and could not stop.
I mean, I blame the girls just as much as I blame the guys. And the guys are not nearly as bad as the girls because the behavior that the girls get away with set the tone for the guys. Nobody ever takes sex cosplay serious unless a woman's involved, and we all know the reason why. And I'm going to say it explicitly in case nobody understands the reason why. It's because we know that the idea that a person being groped in public is wrong. Cosplay obviously is not consent. However, if you are going to a convention where you are clearly fishing for attention, people are going to treat you with the attention you want. If the attention you want and the attention that you get is sexual in nature, don't play fucking dumb. I'm not the one for it. At the same time, if it's about you choosing to do something that you've never done before, and you're also covered up. So, your cosplay looks like you're naked, but you're not. It's a fake chest and fake bodysuit. And it's all just illustriously designed so that the illusion is made easy for people to understand how it's so crazy that you've designed such a thing. That's different. And we all know that that's different. Because I'm tired of seeing men make excuses for themselves and say, it's not the same, when it in fact is the same. And even if the women, technically, are the ones responsible for setting that standard, I'm tired of seeing them make the excuse frequently, and then frequently never take accountability for the fact that because we're the ones that dictate the standard, that we're also the ones that dictate the understanding.
I'm not ready.
Because I'm also tired of those women that do that, basically trying to dominate the conversation and play stupid. I'm sick of it.
You are nothing but a
I
locust.
need more time.
Because the only way that you can keep the women honest is to disabuse them of this notion. That's the only way. If we don't disabuse the women of the notion, they get away with being victimized all the time. And because they're always allowed the ability to say, well, you don't understand what it's like to be ogled and touched as a woman. Yes, the fuck I do. I've had random women decide to just put their hands on me. I've had random men and women put their hands on my sister. I've had random men and women put their hands on my intimate partner. I've had men and women put their hands on my friends and family that chose to dress up. Every single time, they get away with it because they start crying and say, nah, you don't understand. Both when I was not a part of the group that was responsible for the leadership of the issue, and then when I ended up becoming a member as a legacy. It is infuriating because they're not used to somebody being able to call them on it. And it's dog shit. It makes me sick. Now, obviously, everybody's not subscribed to that mode of thinking. Obviously, we've gotten to a place where we can expect women to keep their hands to themselves the same way that men keep their hands to themselves, but it's only incidental. As soon as the tears start, and as soon as the yelling starts, and supposedly the violence starts, I'm not comfortable with the fact that basically we still live in a time period where the statement, the Church of Women Worsting, still is relevant. We're supposed to be past 2016, but it's the Church of Women Worsting when it comes to shit on TikTok, when it comes to shit on the internet. Every single conversation about the topic is still female-coded. So, a man can never understand. Therefore, a man should shut up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should not take a sexually attractive man to have to say, I was raped by a gooner wearing gear from to further take it seriously. Because if we were to go back like 10 to 15 years and we instead said, I was touched by a Yuri poster with a weeaboo paddle, it would still be seen as mockishly ghoulish. Because they'd be laughing and saying, you know, he wanted it. He's just crying for attention. Not to mention that the majority of people who are usually doing that are going out of their way to get that reaction from people so they can be able to make fun of them for that very reason. Which is the other reason I don't like it. Because it's like, all of these sexual cosplays, even the poolside cosplays, even some of the conservative ones, the poolside cosplays, the obvious sexual cosplays, the cosplays that are based on sexy characters, but they are doing them correctly with false chests and false busts. There's always the influencer. There's always the influencer who's only doing it because they can get a lot of likes on TikTok. And unfortunately, at the same time that con season starts to roll around for whatever conventions are going to happen, this is when you start hearing a lot of storytime videos. I've watched way too many storytime analyses and storytime breakdowns from people that were just outright lying about the fact that, hey, I tried to flirt with a guy I thought was cute, it didn't work out, so I accused him of sexual assault. Only one saving grace is that the sexy influencers, like Sabrina Banks, that one girl from that one thing where when we were going through and playing a game of Cupper Up Shop, she was the girl that was the trash raccoon. You remember?
I think I know what you mean.
Influencers like that, they're at least willing to play the sexual game. They're at least willing to say, no, I'm going out here, I specifically have reworked and I have lost a significant amount of the audience that I had to try and be distant and relatable because I want to make money being sexual again. Like, Sophia Banks has gotten back to doing that kind of content and basically rebranded herself to do that kind of material. She's been back on the fucking feeds and back on the VODs, surrounded by fucking influencers that are half our age or even younger, leering over her for her body. Like, they at least are willing to say, yeah, I'm playing the game. Most of these girls, most especially the hoodweebs, you know it was the hoodweebs. Why else would I be complaining about it? You know that the hoodweebs... You know that the hoodweebs are the ones that are going out there and getting involved in these situations and then saying, I can't believe... What? Excuse me, I'm not in the right tone of voice. I can't believe that nigga put his hand on me. Why did that nigga think he can even touch this? And this bitch is out here dressed as Lilith. Titties out, ass out, titties and breasts half colored, slathered up with oil. Hip to back ratio hanging out like this. People can't see it, but if I lower my arm just a little bit, I'm now doing the Kamen Rider salute. Backs like this. Backs like this. Walking around the con, shake it to the left, shake it to the life. Nothing but recoil. Nothing but recoil. Nothing but recoil. Ugh, these are so nasty. All they do is think about sex.
Right. see, the worst part is that from the experienced con goer, like the con veteran that is here, like, I mean, obviously you've gone to conventions, but like the one that still goes, I don't really do 25% chance. Shit, I got off Helldiver's and now playing Balatro. I have seen a woman dressed up as Cammy literally walk the con floors, and roast beef was roast beefing.
Don't they make female dance pads now?
Yeah, they do. But this woman, dressed up in what I want to say her Street Fighter 6 outfit. She was with a group of Street Fighter cosplayers, but it was still very interesting to witness. Because I was just sitting there going like, interesting. I don't know necessarily how to feel about that, but
I do. Whore!
yeah.
I can't yet.
I'm joking, chat.
Feel my wrath!
Or is he? I'm joking.
Or is he?
No, I'm joking.
He's actually joking, sure. But no, when it comes to that, it's like there's one. The most infamous one that still comes to my mind that I can think of is, funnily enough, there was a Rebecca cosplayer who was under her jacket, practically wearing nothing. Like those, and she jumped up in the middle of the scene, and during said scene, just suddenly you could nearly see there was something showing.
There is power in brutality.
So, needless to say, some people typically don't cover up well. I'm just saying, maybe, yeah, but you know, I'm male presenting, therefore I don't get a say sometimes.
I'm not sure how to address the Rebecca question, because then that's a question about lollies. On the Rebecca question, if you know that you're going to be playing a character that is short-stacked, you have to please be knowledgeable of the weapon that is your body. At the same time, you kind of have to just read any kind of like Tumblr guide of the do's and don'ts of cosplay and how to cosplay safely. Ideally, it's just so that you can go to a restaurant and the restaurant doesn't kick you out. This used to also be a part of the test of where you close at. You go into a restaurant, you're with all of your friends, every single person is in cosplay. You go up to the register and go up to the teller to place your order. They look at you. Sir and or ma'am, where you close at? If they have to ask you where you close at, you didn't put on enough clothes. Or you did not create a cosplay where they can now respectively be able to serve you food, and at the very minimum, instead of being the story that demonstrates the standard of who's allowed to be and not be in the restaurant, is instead a story of, hey yo, the convention came through this week and you will not believe the cosplays I saw. Instead of, we heard from management about the type of people that have been coming to the restaurant, and we have created a humble guide to help you keep your job. One of these is not a joke. The other of these is not a joke. Trick question. Both of these have happened to me.
Yeah. The annoying part about this shit is that you make the jobs of every single person. You make fucking like legitimately good cosplayers you make legitimately good cosplayers downright have to do some really draconian shit to ensure that they themselves are still able to go to that convention.
Like, if I was in the skin of Jessica Nagiri and I had the power to basically try to shame people out of doing this job so I can maintain my job security, I would not blame her in the slightest for taking for making the content route and just actively misleading people so they don't get into the scene so I can continue doing my job. On the most high scale of shit, I'd be like, yes, queen, lie to them girls. Get your bag. Yes. Yes. Because it's just safer. It's just shape her. It's just safer. Remove the people who are getting into it because they don't really care that much about it. They're just doing it to jump onto a trend. Remove the amount of people who are not really getting into it for good reasons. They are only concerned about how they can be able to make money for themselves by getting in on the trend. Remove the people that simply have no concern of being deeply involved with the shit that actually matters. They are only doing it to get on the trend. Only the people who care. Only the people who put in effort. Only the people who try. Better. Just generally better. Now, at the end of the day, they don't really mean shit when you really think about it, but simply just better. Because of how many times I have watched the situation of the supposed cover-up slut go from, well, you know, that's just your feeling, to, no, we kind of have to ask you to leave. But I didn't even get my chicken nuggets. No, ma'am, we have to ask you to leave. Why? Because that woman has been being flashed by you for the last 20 minutes because you haven't noticed you had a nip slip. And you just standing here and you let me cop up, and you just watching me? No, ma'am, I don't care. Nah, you a pervert, though. Step from behind counter. Show front side of pants. Flat as a board. You could not get me stiff whatsoever. Entire group laughing at her. Carl, we heard that you made comments towards a woman. No, that's not what I did at all. Roll back tape. This actually happened to me! So in my own concerns, just for the people who are working behind the registers, please make cosplays where they don't feel like they're gonna get in trouble if they have to say something to you. Like, oh, your pin slipped. Oh, your lanyard fell off the floor, man. Let me grab that for you. If I don't feel like I can be safe nearby or around you, your cosplays are not safe. And that's something that I don't think enough people really understand or talk about.
Yeah. I've had the situations where I've how do I put this? I've had situations where people legitimately have had, like, some people were just unironically in full, like, either latex or, like, vinyl, and it was gimpy. Like, this is like moe flavor levels of, like, lingerie, and they're just at a convention.
Oh, that's another thing. No lingerie is at conventions.
Yeah, unless it's a lewd convention.
Yeah, if you're not at a lewd convention and or at a convention taking place in Las Vegas where that's the environment and vibe, if you can get bread in it, you do not go to the convention in it. But Carl, you could get bread in anything. Until I see people cosplaying granny characters with giant fucking F-cup titties wearing muumuus at the convention, not an argument. And it has to be a character that is traditionally basically wearing a muumuu. Not a sexy variation, alright? You little horny monsters that just recently discovered Dandadan, I don't want to see it. I know she's hot. I know she's breedable. But she's still a grandmother. she is also wearing basically fucking shapewear. If you tell me you can't find a corset and a white t-shirt,
I mean, hey, if anybody's looking to cosplay Granny from Looney Tunes, be my guest. If you trying to make that lose as hell, more power to you, but at the same time...
if you find a way to cosplay a sexy Granny of Looney Tunes, and you have a canonical Sylvester and Tweety, and the entire joke is Sylvester and Tweety are concerned about the fact that Granny is out here trying to get fucked at the convention, and in character, they keep going around, and they slur, and they also slur their words. You know, Sylvester's...
Slur and Slug attack.
Yes.
That.
And Tweety actively in full yellow. If you can create that cosplay, these are what will enhance the joke, and in that condition you have my blessing. Anything that enhances the point where the sexiness is instead of the pull and drag, is instead a part of the running gag of the joke, I'm all for it. If it is not, I'm not all for it. Otherwise, be more clever. Because people just use sexiness as a justification. That's really, at the end of the day, my general problem with it. By no means am I a prude. John Delaroz can get his ass the fuck out of here. I made sure to even make sure he was banned from my shit the other day when I saw he was trying to like my posts around. And he's certainly not liking the fact he's getting shut out of content creation. But this is not a prude argument. It's literally a I need to see you be inventive argument. So, Granny, lingerie, nylons, stripper clear heels, 6 inches or more. It's your heels, not my heels. My ankles will be fine.
Running them shits is hard, you know?
Look, if gay and or straight men that are queer can do it, the women can do it.
You're talking to someone who has done it.
Correct.
Yes.
Clear heels, 6 inches or more, nylons, thigh highs, fishnets, and any amount of makeup. But Sylvester and Tweety, completely Looney Tunes accurate, and they're just going around the convention saying, have you seen Granny? She's trying to catch some dick. Don't do it. Because, like, outside of the shows that are just, you know, made for that kind of material, I cannot, in good faith, bring myself to believe that we have gotten to a point where it's acceptable. Because I'm just tired of seeing it. In general. That's just my personal opinion. Just for general purposes, you know. Looking in the chat real quick. Sexy Granny with slide and Tweety is something I'd participate in. I would call Sylvester. Alright. We know what Tussie's cosplaying as.
I mean, the cosplays that I have on my docket are, well, this is one of the cosplays is to bait Sage, and that's just because I know what he likes.
The destruction of that water will be repaid 1,000-fold. How foolish! I can't yet.
The only, you know, Carl, hold on. I'll give you one image, and you can instantly tell what I'm going to look like.
You think you can stand in my way? Burn to ash, demon of Atzoatl. I can't yet.
I'm waiting by with bated breath as I beat the shit out of a Meso-Mexican American that uses souls.
Wait. All right, here you go. This is all that needs to be said.
Okay. You're gonna have to wait until I murder the minority.
Do you truly think you can match me? You leave me no choice.
Here at Carl Entertainment Industries, we do not condone sometimes what Carl says.
Yet.
Look, I'm not the Mesoamerican that exists on superior technology that's designed on sucking out people's souls and putting it inside of jars.
Face the might of the Baal. I cannot allow you to interfere.
Here at Carl Entertainment.
You can stand in my way.
Here at Carl Entertainment Industries, we understand that the Mesoamerican may have done it, but that's not his fault. He didn't do nothing.
You are within my
Vol didn't do nothing.
fatal
It wasn't them. It was the one-armed man.
Can these fucking graham crackers open, please? I have to fucking use a goddamn fork to pierce the fucking packaging. 'Cause I want my motherfucking graham crackers.
I've had enough of
Hopefully these will stave off the idea of jerking off.
I'm out.
you. Fail me.
Oh, you didn't know that fact?
I mean, I wouldn't have expected you to solicit that information.
Oh yeah.
Your people cannot be saved. History is all.
Oh, no, that's you!
You can stay
Have I ever heard of a game called Lethal League? I have not, Alex. I don't know what that is.
I have. It's interesting.
Alright, let's see this shit.
But
Okay.
to explain
What's the
first.
ghost?
Yeah, I'm pretty much. I'm gonna be dressing up as Ghost.
My friend here is
But no. Sage loves the tactical look and masks and shit like that. But Carl playing off his best SK dance routine.
No, I'm stretching so that my back don't lock the fuck up.
No, understandable. Oh yeah, Tufsky did say the fact about it. Graham crackers and cornflakes were made to stop people from jerking off.
I know the lore behind it. I just thought you were just soliciting information where it's like, hey guys, I'm eating this so that I don't fucking whack it. We here at Carl and Carl Productions do indeed promote people to have healthy sex lives, but that does not mean I had to know what you were specifically doing in your sex life.
In my defense, people will pay to see some other person jork it.
I'm just Carling over here, man.
Yeah,
In front of my nori stack?
I mean, we were getting absolutely brain rotted with Pathfinder last night. So we're on a quest to get more money. $1,000 ahead for a specific monster that we were hunting.
So will you help us?
We killed 3 of them. Head back to town. Dealt with some stuff. Got shopping. I got more healer shit because you know I'm the 1 out of 2 healers of the party, and the DM is not liking the healing. Just because we have unadulterated burst of healing combined with sustained healing and combined with... Are you eating nori?
Yes.
Nice. But no, it was very funny how certain things went about going.
By the first ones, you're alive.
I have upgraded this 2-pair to the against degree. That's wild. No, we did that. The plot currently so far is that we're trying to get back to the material plane because we were just like, well, the shattering of this world fucking happened. Therefore, we most likely should get the fuck out of here. There is no point for us to be pretty much here anymore. We've done all that we can. We got resurrected, but you know what we need to do? Damn, you piece that motherfucker! Anyways. What was it? Oh yeah, right. So we had the instances of that. We killed a monarch due to that, especially because of how she was. But because of how my character is, he can see dead people and then they can commune with him. To the point that he's able to kind of like gain some insight. Said person who he killed has been talking to him and talks with him with such fucking vitriol because he killed her.
Uh-huh.
And it opens up a very funny little thing because he himself has genuinely tried to do his best with what he's got. And a majority of the time, he often tries to not... Like, he tries to stay out of trouble. That's usually his...
Mm-hmm.
But for unfortunately, the poor cleric, the poor man that he is, just can't fucking get away from that shit.
Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, but no, he himself, he's currently on borrowed time right now because when he got resurrected. When he got resurrected, there was a part of the magic that didn't quite set properly, so to speak.
I'm sorry, Brannock.
And it has caused him so far to very much so be concerned with, like, if he's going to die. So he's trying to find a fragmented being of a god who is a child, and also attempt to convince her to come with him, even though she herself is probably is in the hands of a very tyrannical being.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, how do you convince a child? How do you convince a child to, you know, pretty much go like, hey, yeah.
Only way one should, I suppose.
But he is not a conversationalist in the slightest, unfortunately. Even though his highest stat as of right now is diplomacy.
As diplomatic as one can be, I don't know if that's going to make a dead person that you killed be nice to you.
No, by no means. I mean, he's very diplomatic. He's very good in medicine. He is not the party's face, though. Actually, well, he can be in the right moment, but because of how his nature previously used to be, he definitely is somebody who did not, who before he died, he himself would not have been the one to be doing the talking. He would probably be instead just straight up killing people. Like, you have annoyed me enough, I'm killing you. That kind of behavior.
I'm not gonna be wrong there. Okay. Well, practically, my opinion about party faces is that there is no such thing as a party face. There's a face that people see of your party before they see the person who you intended to be the one everybody talks to.
Yes. But also, one of the characters in said party does not like the fact that we have to divulge information to the point where she was like, none of you all have street smarts. And it's like, the street smarts that we have, we can use, but the thing about it is that you yourself try to omit things, and omitting things typically fucks us over. Because she has done that in the past, and it has not gone well.
Like?
To explain, during a war council meeting, this is pre-shattering. You'll hear me say pre-shattering or post-shattering. Currently,
On with it.
yeah. But she tried to omit certain things in a war council meeting when we had to be completely 100% transparent, and it didn't take. And it was basically for her like pulling fucking teeth.
Right?
Yeah. So we had the situation of, well, we wanna make sure that we have like a bunch of information that is like only viable for us and stuff like that. It's like, then the amount of time that we have to do this, pretty much stop the quote end of the world. We failed, by the way. It's very hard to do that when the majority of the time, you know, it's not playing out in our favors because you're limiting some sort of information. And it's like, admittedly, yes, we don't have to give all the facts, but we do have to at least give some of the facts, especially the big one that is going to help us. You know?
I mean, your DM's nicer than I would have been in that situation.
Yeah. My character has gotten in trouble for saying some rather concerning things, to say the least. For example, threatening a man to basically flay him alive for attempting to steal from us. That one of the guards next to him was like, don't ever, like, I said this to basically a guy who was trying to fleece us, part of the guard. And I said that to him, and his captain was basically, don't ever do that again, otherwise I will kill you. And at that moment, I was like, you know, if this was a different time, if this was a time when my character would have said, nah, fuck this, and just straight up killed people, he probably wouldn't be as hesitant now. He can still kill people, but he understands that he can't always choose the violent option.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Eh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Destiny moment. Anything else?
Aside from that, the brain rot occurred where we were talking about. What? Tell me what this mean. Tell me what you think this is in English. A casket, a coffin. And we were doing that the rest of the night.
Word games?
Yeah, pretty much. Word games that were effectively just like really, really fucking dumb.
Okay.
But it was all in good fun.
Destiny moment.
Just like the good old days. Well, hey, you know.
Not that Destiny.
No. I was reading what posters was saying.
Ah. Another moment where my fucking chat doesn't catch up to the screen again. Wish you could play paper D&D with your brother and oldest cousin, just like in the good old days of 3.5. The only way 3.5 is getting covered in current age is if you are going to go download those books yourself, which you probably should, because apparently Hasbro is going to jettison the brand very soon.
I'm not surprised by that.
Like the Dungeons and Dragons brand, after making the horrible decision of choosing to become a lifestyle brand. Well, let's see here. You needed to have a movie to get people interested in 3.5. Then you needed to have a movie to get people interested in 5e. Then you had to have a movie to get people interested in Dungeons and Dragons, period. And they made it into heckin' Reddit Chungus with Justice Smith. It wasn't just his fault. There were other lazy fucking people there slubbing it for a check. But the majority of them, they knew better. The majority of them knew better. Bring all those people together, and then bring together a brand that can't get 3 fans in the room to show their deference for the shit they support, let alone get enough people to actually buy the goddamn product you're selling in these game stores. Also, your game stores are closing. And it's just a recipe for disaster. Or in this case, closures. Bring back that amount of people, bring back that amount of investment, and then add in the fact that the majority of the people that are talking about the content in question are YouTubers on their channels. And you pretty much have a nightmare scenario for Hasbro where they can't make money off people on the product. Nobody wants to buy the books because the books are boring. Nobody wants to pay into the brand because who wants to go outside of their house to play the game? And even if they're using it to tabletop DM, they don't need that to tabletop DM. They just need access to Roll20. A free account on Roll20 even.
Pretty much. I mean, I use Foundry because I'm done with how Roll20 is typically, but that's just because I wanted to add more flair to the things I was going to do.
The flair happens when you choose to put together the system. The only thing that things like Roll20 exists for is to provide virtual dice and the ability to put a stat sheet up. Because you're going to run it in Pathfinder and not Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. But we're doing Pathfinder. We're doing it on Foundry, so
I suppose.
yeah. But Foundry is sick.
Leave the bathroom real fast. I'll be right back, chat.
I will talk to you all. Tell me how you are feeling, my children. I'm not your father. I'm more like... I can't say that. Anyways, 5e books are sure boring and they just sit there and work dynamic mechanics. I mean, the reason why 5e exists, I think that there should be a simple... There definitely should be a simple type. A simple... But stories and overall are just... It's not fully showing. Hold on, do I gotta like score over to YouTube to like witness this?
I don't know.
Creamy garlic beef pasta. Oh, duly noted. Thank you, YouTube. I do enjoy pasta. Are just too safe. Well, okay. When they were starting out in 2014, they weren't terrible. They Superfront have more imagination with concepts, at least for Forgotten Realms. Yes, but a lot of the stuff kind of went to Sword Coast or Eberron, which Sword Coast isn't terrible.
Don't lie.
In fact, we have
terrible.
Sword Coast back then, back in 2014, wasn't that bad. Now it's terrible. But that's just because of a lot of decisions that were... I think that... I mean, like, I don't mind him, but I think Chris Perkins is pretty decent at what he did.
My opinion is that the books don't get enough work because it's always going to be an update about an event inside the book rather than an update to the format that then brings along with it a cataclysmic change to the systems or the lore of the world that then directly affects and then can be inserted into modules. The problem with the books is that they are always used as additional material, and they are never used as the basis of this is the reality in which you deal with. Because, unfortunately, the main reason why D&D sucks, and why the books and the format suck whenever they add on to them, especially considering anything that deals with the Forgotten Realms, is because they made D&D into show play acting. Now, there's still some quality of it, which is why it attracts so many goddamn theater nerds. But the reason why Dungeons & Dragons is dog shit right now is because people are not getting into tabletop to play Dungeons & Dragons. They're getting into tabletop to have a justified reason to justify their addiction to watching Dimension 20 in Critical Role. More Dimension 20 than Critical Role.
Someone influenced by Critical Role and the Mercer effect. I wouldn't say that it was. I would say that Critical Role definitely did influence some of it because everybody wanted to fucking try and be a DM like Matt Mercer. But I'm gonna be so fucking real. Stop trying that shit. It's like, no, we don't have to do that stuff.
I don't blame this on Matt Mercer. I blame this on Brandon Lee Mulligan. Brandon Lee Mulligan is actually the new Matt Mercer. And he is terrible. He's terrible for the brand. He's terrible for the player base. He's terrible for creativity. And he is exactly what Matthew Mercer was talking about when he was complaining about the highest effect of the Mercer effect. Dungeons & Dragons is an event between you, the Dungeon Master, and your players. No matter what the format and the setting is, it is a conjoined storytelling event that is one part game and one part theater. Therefore, a one of one. Yes, having theatrics, being theatrical, and getting into your character enhances the drama. But it should not feel like community theater. It should feel like a table read of formatted but completely unformatted improv, where the Dungeon Master learns more and more about his player characters and more about the personalities of the players at the table to specifically deal with the never-ending problem of power creep and how do I keep them engaged and entertained with the narrative that they are writing. Because one of two, the players, in the never-ending goal of optimizing their damage and their action economies, will eventually render all content null and void. And at the point where they have hit the goal, where in a normal book setting, this effectively means they breeze through a campaign such as that of Baldur's Gate 3. How do you, the Dungeon Master, now correct the problem, and sometimes even the smug attitudes, of the players that have decided to demonstrate how optimized for combat they are because they put all of their faith into their broken characters, their Sorlock, their Coffee Lock sorcerers and wizards, and their beloved taste of silvery barbs. There is a world where most of these problems are caused by the players and their lack in depth of play because they haven't played enough Dungeons & Dragons and they haven't played enough content in general to understand that asking players to wait a specific amount of time where they can finally be allowed to do things such as interact with the players, interact with the NPCs, interact with the town and the NPCs, ask questions of the NPCs, get to understand and know the characters of the NPCs, even have the DM NPC, or any character that is a fan favorite of the party or of the DM, or both, have the same relevance that any of the clips of Avantris have created amongst the player base, can lead to the kind of comedy and meta-narratives that most of the majority of the content is designed for. Like, it is not a factor of the company just being bad. They're bad too. It's a response and feedback loop of the marketing team not understanding what's causing the problem while still giving breath to the people causing the problem. So, when you decide to say that a character has no racial bonus, you're inherently telling me that AO just decided randomly one day, for shits and giggles, I'm giving everybody the exact same benefit of being a human. And that's it. Because he decided that in this world, humans are just gonna fuck all of you. The bards win. I'm done, he said, as he shows up at the door of the College of Swords and the College of the Arts, and he gives them a letter. And in that letter, it says, you win. Go nuts. Literally. Everyone's breedable. That just happened. He showed up at the door of every bard community in every major city and pinned his George Luther letter to the wall telling you to fuck everything you can in sight. And the other races don't know that they're breedable yet. In their infinite wisdom, they thought they were solving the problem of getting the fascists out of tabletop by removing racial bonuses. When all they did was serve the goals to Palpatine in the form of extra credits by demonstrating that you in fact do not understand per capita. Which then leads to men like me, standing here, as I am, right now in front of you, breaking down how hilarious that is. All of magic between Mistral, Mistra, and Midnight, and their wacky journey to giving reason for why Karsus' avatar is the only 12th level spell that exists in all of Dungeons and Dragons, and is directly responsible for why wizards behave the way they do, and why sorcerers behave the way they do. And yet, nobody seems to think that it's funny, or come up with a lore concept for why you would remove racial bonuses, simply because an answer better than, I don't know, maybe 11 different races all shouldn't have a form of dark vision. Perhaps they should have a stronger racial bonus than 40 feet of dark vision. Maybe give some lizard men 5 feet of movement, and not a situational form of movement like, I have 5 feet of movement when I'm wet. And then create multipliers that increase that 5 feet of movement to the point where somewhere, randomly, a wizard creates a puddle of water like it's a fucking acceleration pad, and all of a sudden, this lizard man turns into Sonic the goddamn Hedgehog! Because, surprise, surprise, his dad was a Tengu monk, and all of a sudden, a Velociraptor comes streaming down the floor from you from 140 feet of distance, which is still just his normal running distance. So he's not actually taking 5 feet movement. He's acting after he comes running towards you like you're in Jurassic Park, and all of a sudden, this lizard, that also happens to have a breath weapon, is a multi-attack trampling you in the same turn, and has dealt at least a minimum of 26 points of damage with his natural and breath weapon, before they then launch into a transformation form, because they decided they wanted to be a moon druid. So all of a sudden, you're getting screeched at by a velociraptor, then you're getting pounced on by an owlbear. And it's still his first turn, because that same wizard created an artificer potion that the puddle of water that he created on the floor has the effects of haste!
That's some wild behavior.
Yes, these are references from actual sessions that I DM'd. And I was laughing my ass off. Because they worked for it after about 20 hours of sessions with downtime. Somewhere between, hey, you know about this destruction that happens somewhere in the Forgotten Coast, and that's why there's just a bunch of tieflings running around like normal people? And wouldn't it be really funny if AO made every race baggable and breedable and didn't tell them? In comes the fucking fanboys that are just fans of watching popular people play tabletop, saying, I want to do that too! But, the fan service. I can't stand the fan service. Don't like it very much. No, look at it all, George. Not at all. And all of a sudden, in comes this fucking 5'6" looking twee of a man. And all of them are pretending that his sessions are great. Only because they're finding a way to create a format where they can monetize ass, while at the same time entertaining themselves and a bunch of fucking hangovers they have over at Smosh. And or whether or not they have Angela on loan from Team StarKid. I looked into a lot of this content. I swear to fucking God, Angela Giannattaro shows up way too often for it to be a coincidence. But, regardless, the end-all be-all answer is that the fucking theater kids have got you by the balls, transforming the brand into play theater. And while tabletop is still some part of play theater, it still has to be grounded in a formulation of rules. You throw the basic rules out the window, and the basic player manual might as well just be a guideline. And instead, you take concepts from the system, and then you house rule that will be ignoring that because I decided that shit was dumb as hell. leads to the content being piss poor horrible, where basic ideas thought up between 5 shit posters that are either high and or drunk off their most decent supply come up with better ideas than the books themselves. Forget Apocalypse Stone. Forget Tomb of Annihilation / Old Tomb of Horrors. I could write up a one-shot session right now, off the top of my head, for a minimum of 4 players to a maximum of 10 players. And I can promise you, within hour 2 of that session, I will have killed 6 of you. Minimum! Simply because I will think up a situation that will give you opportunity to demonstrate if you have basic informational skills. Because there's one thing that I definitely know about the people in tabletop right now, and that's that none of them talk ever to people at the table or to NPCs unless they're forced to.
One thing that I do know is that people are worried about meta knowledge. That's another thing that was a very apparent thing, especially for like, what was it, for my session last night? Because when we went shopping, it's like your characters wouldn't know that there are these items, so you have to like, so we have to take a more generalized approach, and like that's fine. But people are so worried about doing quote meta knowledge that they are downright like, you know, downright just paralyzed to make even that notion.
Meta knowledge problems are the problems of the DM. I decide if you get to decide to buy the item.
Yeah, because my DM made the ruling last night. It's like, stop reading the book. If you ask for a specific item, it's not going to be there. So I was like, okay.
I mean, there's a part of this where it's 100% Balser's opinion here. Where, yeah, there are people who don't know how to roleplay. Their idea of looking at the book, you'd think that in an alternate universe, they hear me give this rant that I just started on here, and then they say, Carl doesn't know how to roleplay. He'd do everything by the book. He doesn't know how to do anything at all. And then there are those that, if they were watching Rolling in the Isles actively, do know that in fact I know how to cosplay and roleplay, not just as myself, but as various characters at any point in time. And there is a part of it where it is definitely a concept of meta-knowledge because, hey, I'm reading the book as I designed this character. And by reading the book of this character, I have decided that this is what I'm going to rule my shit as. And this is how I'm going to work it out. And this is how I'm going to plan this. And blah, 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 blah. When it comes to the concerns of building out characters, designing characters, and playing characters, I would much rather the person that is playing the character understand what it is they're asking of themselves when they design for that book. Because it's easier to actually break it down for them. If they put more interest and focus in knowing what it is that they're reading from, because then, if they didn't read the damn book, and let's say they wanted to make a ghost character, right? So, an unkillable, restless ghost. Not somebody made from a ghost of a living creature, but a creature that was basically born undead and has always been undead since the Great Divide. There are multiple ways in which to kill a ghost character that exists in this format, as a deathless ghost. Even though most deathless ghost characters, if you just deplete their hit points, they just disapparate. And then after discorporating, they can reform after a certain amount of time. Some players do not understand this fact, or what they are weak to. So all of a sudden, they're at downtime. Their ghost character is on a few hit points. They walk up to the cleric and say, "Hey cleric, can you heal me?" "Yeah!" "Lay on hands!" "Ah!" Your character's dead. Roll another character. and then you have the player stone-faced stare at you. What do you mean I have to roll another character? All he did was heal me!
Wrong healing.
What is a ghost? An undead creature? What domain is this, cleric? Life? What spell slot did you use this spell from? A 4th level spell? Alright then! Go ahead and just roll 10d4 for me. Then add 20. And, did you happen to take baptismal rites and become a proper bishop? Yeah? I'm sorry, you're exiled. Because you read a fucking book and didn't read what your character actually exists from. And then, after the player finally rolls a new character, at the end of the campaign, the end of the first part of the campaign, their character from their last sheet is waving at them from the great beyond, like, it's okay, you didn't mean to literally discorporate me and send me to the great beyond, but hey, I finally have thumbs again! That's a long story. I finally have thumbs again! Ah! As they fade into the background. There is no such thing as a problem at a table. There's just mistakes turning into miracles. Or a funny bit. And yes, I brought that character back as a butt munch creature. And yes, I murdered that creature specifically just because the villain had a point of punishing them for not understanding their own backgrounds. It was a racial session. New players had to put them through the ringer. All of this could have been solved, of course, had they conversated and talked to each other. But they didn't. Because they were scared of bringing the group down. Not to mention the obvious elephant in the room of supposed elitist players that somehow make the sessions worse for people. And then people's confusion of a player that is an elitist or a player that is trying to help you design a better character just so that you feel like that character is your own. And then trying to create an air of toxicity. And then hiding behind the air of toxicity to say, well, I was trying to stop them from ruining their fun. Only for that person to drop out because they're not having fun because they didn't really like the character that they made. They were just playing what they were told to make by the person that tried to bitch out the other player. Things solved by talking to each other. Because of course, if you pick the wrong kind of campaign for players to play in, then like... they fall afoul of the greatest blunder that anybody can, which is a rules lawyer as a DM out rules lawyering the player. Like, the Artificer character decides, the DM said, I can't build a nuke. And the reason why the DM said you can't build a nuke is he said you can't build a nuke. But then they attempt to rules lawyer, well, see, I can build a nuke. There's no way you can make the crafting checks. Oh, but I found a way, TM. And it's like, okay, you have found a way to do to craft a nuke. How are you going to create the material to create the plutonium to do the nuke? I'm going to use this, and it's completely safe, and it works, and I got this from this TikTok. Damn, that's crazy. Okay, go ahead and roll that roll. Your character's now dead of cancer. You demon cord, bro. You demon cord. And of course, there's obviously problems. Or just in this new age, like, there's less problems that can happen at a table than usual. But compared to the old days, it's not the same. The kind of rage outs that can happen at these tables now are not compared to the rage outs that happened in the problems of yesteryear. Like, there's a world where basic conversations would easily solve problems, or math skills. Because running campaigns based on experience don't really work, because then you have to think of challenge level creatures to throw at your enemies. And having it be show choir doesn't really work either, unless you have a table full of people that are going to deliver and bring the kind of energy that they want to their characters to work with their characters, especially if there's couples, and especially if they're doing a couple character, around themes. Most campaigns work best when they are formatted like old video game turn-based scenarios, like Shining Force and Fire Emblem. It's kind of hard to do those kind of campaigns because you have to do them from scratch, and doing customs is always hard because, well, a new DM sets out a perfectly meticulously designed and well-designed concept, and then players decide to use the rules of the format to try and break that scenario just because they can. At every turn. Because they don't want to do the hard work of engaging with the material. It's the reason why the brand is fucked right now. Unless, of course, you're playing Pathfinder. If you're playing Pathfinder, you don't have these problems. If you use the lore of the books as written, or at least you're using the D&D rules or the D&D books while using the Pathfinder stat chart, and then attempting to navigate it into Pathfinder from Dungeons & Dragons, you can get rid of all the overhead problems that would exist if you were to use the current 5e system. But you would still have the problems of the fact that it's still Dungeons & Dragons 5e that you're transporting it from. All of these problems would be solved if players knew how to roleplay. But either people are scared that they're going to be embarrassing, or they don't want to do it because low energy. Just send me to the next campaign, sir. And they don't take their downtime. Players don't take their downtime.
Like you have to do the next thing. You have to keep doing the next thing. I know for a fact that, like, I enjoy the downtime moments of just, like, you know, we talk, we roleplay, we get that done. And there are some moments where it is time and place and everything, and other moments where it's just like, well, I kind of wish we had a little bit, but I know that people are not exactly, you know, the most thrilled when it comes to roleplaying. I don't say it like, I don't mind it, because, you know, people can, you know, enjoy the moment. We can have moments where we roleplay, you know, a really stupid instance, and we'll go about that. Because, like, last night, we were trying to stealth out of the tavern because we were being listened on, and what happened was that I rolled badly for stealth, so did another person, and so did an NPC. What proceeded to happen was that we, as a gag, used the soundboard of the metal pipe falling on the floor for one of the characters who had heavy armor. And during that entire time, we had the running gag continue forward of just, oh, every single time that he falls down or he takes off his armor, it's and it happened throughout the entire night. And that is really fucking funny. Even though, yes, loud sound equals funny is obviously the most troglodyte shit ever, it can still be pretty fun. You have those moments where people are just, you know, casually existing and just, you know, enjoying themselves, not being like, oh, well, you know, I take hostility towards this.
Most of that comes down to person's personality.
Yes.
Some people will not work well together at the table unless they really take the time to get to understand each other and make it work. Otherwise, it's pulling teeth. This is my experience. Especially if I'm thinking of the experience that I can pull off of for rolling in the aisles. But that's something for me to revisit when I talk to Aiden. Because I have plans to talk to Aiden on Tuesday. I've talked to her in private right now. Because what she could tell you about our game is funny as hell, considering how many running jokes they had. Just in terms of content creation, let alone the rest of us. But some people do not work together well at the table because certain types of personalities just do not lend themselves to the opportunity to allow people to
Or being cohesive. People will genuinely behave the way that they're going to behave. And I've seen this in the workplace because this always happens typically in the fucking place every time without fail. Where people will just genuinely be hostile or will be so wrapped up in defense that they themselves do not have the capability of understanding that, hey, maybe people are just asking questions or people are trying to figure out how to help. And then it becomes the situation of, well, I don't need their help. I don't need them. I don't need this. I don't need you. You need to mind your own business. And you get that. And admittedly, well, yes, some people do need to mind their own business. Some people come from a place of just genuinely wanting to make sure that everybody is okay in this. But because of the people who get defensive and behave like that and try to do that shit, you have the scenarios of, well, I'm going to treat you as hostile until proven otherwise. And I'm going to continue to treat you like you are the bane of my existence so that I myself have a semblance of control.
I mean, I suppose. No one really knows how they're going to operate in a Johnny 5 situation until they get put in it.
Yes.
Where I was going to go with that was...
Sorry.
There are some people that they don't work well together at the table because the idea of what they want to do does not match up with the reality of what is happening. So, if, for example, if the person who owns the server is not the DM, and that person that owns the server is responsible for keeping that player happy, and that person decides they don't like somebody at the table, how often are they going to hold their tongue before they decide to give that person the space to be who they are and treat them fairly, for them to arrive at a point where they can play together at the table and there is no harm, no foul? And under the obvious circumstances that will eventually happen, when is that player going to just forcibly remove them because, well, it's my server, so I say you don't play?
Steal yourself.
Or, if the DM is the person who owns the server, and one of the players playing happens to be their partner, can that DM accept the fact that they're going to have to treat their partner the same as everyone else if they were not already committed to telling them, now listen here, just because you're dating me doesn't mean I'm going to allow your character to live. If you made bad mistakes, I'm gonna kill you in the video game.
Unless you're into some really freaky stuff shit, yeah.
Most of these problems are solved by talking to each other. And in the case of some of these, they are solved by talking to each other after the session. Not during. Because of the hug box nature that has been created within Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop in general, especially concerning things like Vampire the Masquerade, which is hilarious in and of itself because it's Vampire the fucking Masquerade they're doing it in, there has to be a world where, at minimum, the people that are responsible for creating the modules have to realize that the conflict resolution that they are trying to make can't function because the people in general that are doing them don't know how to behave in that way because they're just used to not only getting their own way, but in treating people like they don't matter. There's a world where they're supposed to be capable of recognizing that, realizing that, and dealing with that. Unfortunately, we still do not live in that world where they've figured that the fuck out yet. Because of the nature of this... Yeah, reality boy. Because of this nature of that kind of problem, they always seek the outcome of comfort rather than the truth and reality of discussion. So then, resentment festers, and eventually a table full of people that should be able to work together just end up not being able to work together whatsoever. Or sometimes actively working against you. Especially in downtown operations. Some of those situations become very hard to deal with because you want to treat everyone fairly, but you also know that the thing the person's doing is a dick move. So let's say somebody's downtime operation is that they're a necromancer and they run a health clinic. Nobody knows that that player runs a health clinic. That player runs a health clinic because the bodies that he's using to create his constructs come from medically donated skeletons from the people he's attempting to treat that have illnesses that are very difficult to treat. Somebody in the party decides to go to the Paladin Order and says, "There's a necromancer living in your town! He's killing people for profit!" And when they show up to the doorstep of said necromancer, it's the town mayor, who's also the only medicinal doctor. The player character turning them in is being controlled by a person who vengefully just wants to make the necromancer player very, very upset at them because of some problem that exists outside the game. But because they are being stonewalled about it, because they're not talking to them about it inside the game, when they're in this social event, because they're not ready to talk about it, they project their problems into the group session. And now you're doing therapy. Players like that make me want to punch them in the goddamn mouth. That's half the reason why most tabletop sessions or stories are going poorly. Most of the interesting shows where they do these things, most of them are already friends, so it's less of an issue there. But in most of the shit that I've seen, and I've seen people try to put together, that's what ends up going on and happening. Players don't know how to operate in the context of doing something that involves a group activity that you can't do without other people. I don't know what you would say to that. What would you say to that, Marcus?
To people, trying to be detrimental.
Turning the
To the
table
party?
into therapy.
Turning the table into therapy. Seek professional help. Just genuinely. Because we're not your therapists. We, in fact, definitely should not be your therapists. None of us are trained to be therapists.
That's an evil thing to do. If I were the DM, that character would be smited and the player would be banned, period, from the table. Do not act in-game with intel you only have off-game. It has more to do with the fact that when players choose to do this kind of action, they're trying to inject a form of drama that is one part personal drama and another part I wanted to because I could. The only reason why I allowed it is because in character, the characters in the town were very well aware that their newly elected mayor is a necromancer. But they also did not know how to broach the concept of asking the player character if they were in fact a necromancer. The player character in question was given an opportunity during the election cycle to explain what they were going to do for healthcare. And they gave answers not uncommon from what a big bad evil guy would if he was trying to recruit a town to be his lawful subjects in a new kingdom. And when people asked him why he kept speaking of such grand ideas for the town, they just simply came to the natural conclusion of assuming, oh, he's about to kill us, we're going to be turned into skeletons. And what we ended up doing was that they held a trial by fire. And what they came to discover is that the necromancer was actually donating the bodies to science, yes, and occasionally, if they had no other ability to, using them in ritual summoning to make deals with devils to break generational curses that had been placed on the families, where all they needed was like a minion to do work. And only ever doing this with the bodies of people that had been sentenced to death for things in the community. So, obvious witches that have been executed by the Paladin Order, selling their souls to demons as trading fodder to get medicinal panacea that otherwise would be inaccessible to the villagers, selling bodies to medical science, and then the medical scientists at the colleges choosing to use those bodies for reanimation training, and then sending the new guards that protect the city in the form of the bodies and skeletons that of their loved ones that were sold to bring back the economy and whatnot. Eventually, we ended up with Necromancer Donald Trump that was just making the art of the bone deal. Then out of character, two people stopped being friends because the other friend decided to bring their problems up at the table, and I told them, hey, you should talk that out. Like, I, as a player character, don't know how I would handle that if I'm put in that situation. Because, accounting for the situation where it did occur to me, the person in question can just decide if they are going to be the nuisance towards you, just simply never tell you the reason why they're doing what they're doing. Honestly. That person could decide they don't like what you're doing, and because they don't like the way you play the game, or the way you talk, or the way you roleplay your character, or if it's against the DM, they don't like the way that you DM the table, they're constantly backseating your plans and designs, they're constantly telling you that your ideas are bad, your lore is bad, your world building is bad, blah 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 blah, blah blah blah, 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 blah. Instead of helpful advice, they give obnoxious advice. And then possibly create problems for you to see how good of a DM you really are. I don't know how I'd feel for any of those situations. Really, as the DM, I'd play it by ear. In general, for that particular situation, if it's something like...
Kind of have to.
In those situations, if I'm playing at the table and I'm the dungeon master, and it happens to be two player characters that are controlled by two people that are a couple, and that turns into actual fucking marriage counseling, I feel like the joke in me tells me what I should do is I should make a joke of the situation they put me in. And so I'd have to create a Sigmund Freud character to make them go to couples therapy. Even if the player characters themselves are not together. Because at that point it's meta commentary. It really depends. It really depends. In general, it's better to try to deal with problems between players first before having to step in as a dungeon master. If there is absolutely nothing you can do to solve the problem in the situation, then you have to remove that player, and then you have to figure out a way to try and plan around and shape things around the fact that you've lost one minus player that you're dealing with. I don't know. That's what I think. Ooh, I've got tested by Star. She's saying things to aggravate me. It's funny aggravation.
I mean, that's why, like, I'm. Another thing is why I'm looking away from Pathfinder. I mean, not Pathfinder. Sorry, 5e or things of that, or things just of that nature, because they don't deserve my money.
Don't give me your money.
They don't.
Steal the books.
Yeah, they don't deserve my money. What they do deserve is to go under, because that is a genuine thing that definitely doesn't need to happen.
In any case, 5e is really bad because of how they have tried to neuter any of the things the player classes can do, and any of the things that a PC could be designed to even attempt to achieve if they were ever to achieve the 20th level. There's no fun things to do during downtime in a basic game, ran off of basic rules. Of the modules that are considered okay, they run piss poor in 5e compared to how they would run in a lesser edition. Something that doesn't work in 5.5e? Anything that would work inside of the current up-to-date edition of 5th edition, which is like 5e, doesn't work in 5e because it was designed to work around a type of system that would work in 3.5. In fact, so much of the concepts in the game are fundamentally based on the fact of systems that had been better designed during 3rd edition. So much so that the offline content creation system, which is the reason you now have to pay for D&D Beyond in the first place, so that so they can make money off of you using on-site tools that you have to have behind a subscription model. And I'm pretty sure my working functioning copy of that is on my laptop. Oh well. The reason why those tools existed behind that paywall, and still technically in some formation and fashion exist behind that paywall, is because the idea was that you would buy the content so that they could nickel and dime you to add that into that offline tool. It used to be a whole thing. It was a program, you click to start it, it starts up, then you add books to the library that it's pulling from, and it physically applies the books to the library. Half the reason the goddamn shit runs so poorly is that the format needs 15 books to run one encounter because of how much crossover there is. Anyways, more or less looping. But we're also right at the time period that I would have stopped to begin with anyways. So, does not look like there'll be any call-ins today. Unfortunately,
Oh.
chat.
Yeah. It was nice talking, but
Yes.
I'm assuming you'll continue later.
I have to debate if I will or not. It is currently 10:54. The latest that I could do a secondary broadcast later on would be up until about 4. Because the live chat that I was going to do last night, I will end up doing today because I was out shopping yesterday. And I'm pretty sure that for some people on this Sunday, like Boss was saying, they're at work. So, like, I don't know. But 3 hours is about the max. We've been here for an hour and 58 minutes. So, it is just to give it up to that time for then, which technically frees me up to do a couple of other things, and then possibly set up to do this versus chat tonight. So, it is what it is. In any case, hello chat, goodbye chat. I will see you all tomorrow at the top of the week. Goodbye, I love you. I'll read you in the funny papers, and I'm billing you all for my therapy.